Okay, so far I have just been concentrating on how to do the actual puzzle. In the next final few videos I'm going to go over some more practical application of how to actually use it to run your store. So one of the things you might want to do if you're really into the shipwriting puzzle is open a store. And to run a store, personally, I hate the idea of using other people as labour. Thing. For example, when I was on Viridian, I managed to ship the yard because I needed to build a few ships. Quite basically, I gathered all my hearties, got them all together. I believe I got around 120 employees in my upgraded shipyard shop, pumping out a war frigate every 20 hours or so. Within, I believe it was 2 weeks, that's all it took, I was down to about 25% production. And I was around about 95% once I had all my hearties in there. So I would strongly advise you to use alts, especially for the basic labour. So first of all, how do you get your alts? Well, any normal way would be either if you have access to a lot of computers, you can create a lot of accounts. I think the official way that Three Wings would like you to do it is if you have your main account and you buy dubs or subscription, it doesn't really matter how many. If you just buy, like the basic 12 doubloon package on an account, what it does is it basically marks it as having been paid for. Now, this gives you several things. It allows you to have a bit more support priority. If it's the first time and you're in a crew, it gives you a Shanghai. And it also marks your account as having been paid for. Three Rings allows you basically 2 free accounts. So if you want any more accounts, you have to log on those 3 accounts that you've created and basically buy doubloons. Now, once you've bought doubloons on those accounts, it lets you create more accounts. So basically, for the 12 doubloon package, you get 12 doubloons, a Shanghai, and another account. Now that is the official way to create labour alts. There are, of course, other ways that I won't go into in this video. So you've got your shipyard store. How do you know how much labour you need for your shipyard store? Well, if you go into this main shipyard screen here, you click on Run Your Own Store, and here you can just sort of see the basic information about the store. So I can see here a small store will give about 11 hours of labour an hour. So I want 11 alts in my shipyard, because basically each alt will give me 1 hour of labour. So I basically want 1 alt for every potential hour that my store can output. So for this deluxe store, I want 23 hours of labour. So that's what you would do. You would put in about 23 alts and you would get around 90 to 95% production. If you want to improve the efficiency, you can sort of put your alts in several different stores, and I find that makes them far more efficient, because alts are never going to provide 24 hours of labour on a regular basis to one store. What you'd be looking at is getting something like 21, 22, 23 hours. There's always going to be the odd hour wasted. That's why I like to have 2 or 3 stores that sort of all share the same labour pool. So if you're rich and you're really serious about doing this, don't have each store acting independently. Have a shared labour force for 3 places. because obviously each alt can take 3 jobs. And then have basically 1 alt for every possible hour of labour. So how do you want to split your labour pool? Well, the naive approach would say, oh, there's 7 hours maximum of expert labour that I could produce. So I will have 7 expert alts, 10 skilled alts, and the rest I have as basic. But that is not how you want to do it. So if I come out of this screen, I go into order products, okay, so I'm scroll down the list. What's the thing I want to produce? So let's say I've got a stall, I want to produce everything I can. So realistically, the biggest you're going to do is a warp rig. Now unfortunately, my alt is not showing the labour time, so I'm just going to have to pause here and hop on my main so I can actually show this to you. Okay, so here we go. We've got the warp rig thing up here. We can see that a warp rig requires 400 hours of basic, 200 hours of skilled, and 90 hours of expert shipwright labour. So that means you need a 400 to 200 to 90 ratio of labour. Okay, so if you simple this down, it basically means for every 5 expert alts, you want 10 skilled alts and 20 basic alts. Now we said we want about 23 alts. So what we want to do is we want to basically overestimate slightly on everything. So I know that I can produce a warp rig every about day and a half in a stall. So you want to put out 90 hours of labour every day and a half. So that's 90 times 3 divided by 2. So 90 times 2 divided by 3. Big maths issues here. So that basically means you need 60 hours of expert labour per day. So for a stall, so you divide that by about 22, because that's how many hours your alts should probably give. So that gives you a figure of about 2.7. So at minimum you need about 3 expert alts in a stall. If you were fully producing warp rigs, you'd probably want to bump that to 4, just to be kept for safe. Again, I'm going to look at the skilled hours now. So we have 200 hours of skilled shipwright labour, and we want that twice over 3 days, so that's about 134 hours of labour. Each alt gives you about 22 hours. That says we need about 6 hours of skilled labour. But skilled labour you want to really overestimate, so we're going to turn that 6 into about 9. Because you want to have the spare sort of labour, because don't forget those extra 3 alts, if the skill doesn't get used, they just get downgraded to basic, and it's not all that much extra work. So say far in our shipyard store we have 3 expert labourers, 9 skilled labourers, and we said we want about 23, so let's make that say 25 labourers. So that leaves about 13 workers left. So if you want to make a maximum production, very efficient shipyard, you want 13 basic labour alts, about 8 or 9 skilled labour alts, and 3 expert labour alts. But of course it depends on what you're making as well. So if I scroll up and I choose sloop, you'll see all you have here is basic and skilled. So if you wanted to have a shipyard that purely handles sleep orders, you would do the same. You would have about 24 alts split in a ratio of about 16 to 6, plus a bit more for skilled, just in case to handle the fluctuations. And that's up, and you'd make about 24 alts in that ratio. So that would be about 15 basic alts and about 7 or 8 again skilled labour alts. Again, if you see the cutter, yet again, all you need is basic and skilled, which is why you don't actually need the full 4 expert alts to be safe, because your shipyard, more than likely, if you're opening it to production, is going to be producing cutters and sloops, which don't actually need expert labour. If you are going for pure brig production, or baglars or merchant brigs, so they all need expert labour hours, then you would probably need about 4 expert labour hours. And if you were in a large shipyard, like the one I was running, I believe I needed around 65 alts, 70 alts or something like that for an upgraded shipyard that I was maintaining. Pretty much you can do the exact same method to work it out. If you have an unupgraded shipyard, you can just sort of check in the labour panel of your shop how much you put out an hour. I believe it's 45 if it's not upgraded, and about 60 if it is upgraded, or something along those lines. So I would have had about 65 labour alts, 70 labour alts, because they're not 100% efficient, in order to maintain full production at the shipyards that I ran. And then on top of that, obviously you've got things like the re-of-the alts. And then you've just got the re-of-the alts to produce the sailcloth. So for dormanting these labour armies, basically pirates go dormant once every 10 days. So you basically have 2 choices. You either have to come up with a method to track your labour alts and do them all gradually. In my case, I chose that method, and I coded a database which will be in the miscellaneous guides eventually for tracking your labour alts. The other option is just log on every single alt every 10 days, which just sort of adds that day that you loathe and hate coming around. But you don't need something complicated like a database if you want to do them gradually. Just have something like an Excel spreadsheet and just mark down when you last puzzled them, when they need to be puzzled, and just make sure you get to them before the 10 days are up. And pay your alts, just enough money to cover the badge. So say at the moment it's doubloons up. At the time I'm making this guide at about 1,500. So times that by 5, it costs you 7,500 PO to maintain a labour alt for a month. So you basically, for 7,500 PO, and you get 30 days and 24 hours of labour out of that. So right now it costs you about 11 PO per labour hour at 1,500 PO per dubs. Before that used to be about 7 or 8 once the doubloons were lower. I'm not quite sure how actual labour prices have gone, but like I said, basic labour alts, they're not really about saving money. You don't actually save any money on them, hardly, other than 1 or 2 PO maybe. But they're more about maintaining your production. there is no way you can get full production of basic labour without using labour alts in a shop. You see, everywhere that doesn't do it just basically gets completely bottlenecked on basic labour. When really an army of basic alts, it just takes a few minutes work every 10 days, and it's just really easy. And that's it for this video. In the next 2 videos I'm just going to go over some basic techniques for how to maintain basic and skilled alts. Unfortunately for expert alts, this takes you a very long time, but it's quite rewarding once you actually get there. I would quote, if you want to create an expert labour alt, it will take you about 25 puzzles. I would say about 20, well, maybe not quite that might be a bit of an overestimate, maybe around 20 puzzles in order to get renowned if you're a genuine, like, legendary sort of level shipwriter. And obviously to maintain them you have to do a genuine sort of puzzle, get an excellent sort of report. That's it for this video.